Hey guys, Novastar here again with the fourth installment of this Novastar Saber Sessions kind of thing, pretty much answering a lot of questions on my group, which I'll leave a link for in the description. So going on to some of the other notes that I took down, I had a location. So what does that mean? It's pretty vague, I'm sure, with the questions. Some people were just literally just saying, what do we do about locations and everything? I'm sure what that entails, if I had to guess, has to do with people saying, well, where do I host classes or meetups and this kind of thing? Or perhaps like, what's the best location where people will see what we're doing and come in? I really don't know exactly what everybody's going to be looking for, but I might as well approach it like that. So first of all, the location really, just like anything else, is dependent on a great many things. I would say in a lot of ways you just literally have to think about your area and what you can afford. For example, I mean, some people will literally just say, well, let's just go meet in a park. That's fine. So that doesn't really do you any disservice, because you're going to go out there. It's not going to cost anything to set the classes up. But of course it comes with its disadvantages, such as weather, or if it's too dark, or it's not an ideal location in general, or I just don't know. But obviously the advantage being, like I just said, it doesn't cost you anything, or other folks anything, to come out and train. And in some cases also another advantage is space. If you're out in a park, it's a pretty large area. Generally you're not going to be in this 10 by 10 room, for example. So then what's the advantages of actually renting a space? Well, it's a little bit more quote-unquote legitimate. Offering classes like that, it's a little bit better for teaching environment where the sound is controlled. Obviously when you're in a room, it's a little bit easier to teach than when you have distractions left, right, up, down, planes flying by, people running around, traffic, whatever the case with other facilities that might be open. Or I shouldn't say facilities, but like a park. Again, what are some other advantages of being inside? The lighting situation can be controlled. The heat and cold, whatever, you can kind of mitigate that usually inside a facility where, if it's the middle of the dead winter and it's snowing or raining, you're inside and doing your thing. Another advantage is sometimes you can get a facility where the floors are carpet, or they are padded floors. Let's say you're in a gymnastics facility or something and you have a plyometric floor, this kind of thing. So a lot of other things can be approached, like rolls and falls and tricking. Even, as you guys know, some of my past work, I would do a little basic level of tricking, not something advanced, mind you, but that sort of thing. So that's nice, and sometimes there's even like equipment there. You could be like, oh look, they got these real tall pads, so you could work on this trick and this thing and do it safely. Whereas if you're just out in the middle of a park, it's pretty difficult to train yourself with a backflip or a butterfly twist or anything that's a little bit fancier. So there you go. I don't really think there's anything else I can say on location other than you just have to set it up. You have to do it. You have to be vigilant. And again, some of the most important things to any of this stuff is discipline and consistency. If you set something up, do it weekly at 7 o'clock p.m. on this day, and do it all the time, every week. Be there as much as you possibly can and set it up. And now it can be difficult if you are the only one who shows up, if you're the only one who does anything. It can make it extremely difficult for you to, continue the classes or whatever, the meets. But basically you just have to do your location thing and make it happen. Hopefully research it a little bit, see what works, and eventually if you have enough members, you can always move into a facility. That's always nice, depending of course on the rent. Obviously if something is $100 an hour, even charging students $10 per that hour, you'd need at least 10 students just to break even, and that wouldn't be a great usage of many people's time and all that stuff. So you have to think about that. Okay? All right, so on to another subject here, since I used, about half the time here, about 4.5 minutes in here. I got Saber basics and where to start. I kind of grouped that into one thing, and for me, I would obviously be a little biased. I would say you should basically look at the Saber Combat DVDs, the NCSES DVDs that are on the sabercombat.com website. The reason being is those basics will help you greatly in having a nice solid foundation to moving forward in all sorts of aspects with Saber Combat, including choreography, including saber spins, including even some basics of sparring, and even just a notational kind of system like you guys have seen. That's really the heart of what my system is all about. It makes things a lot easier for people rather than having to memorize everything by rote right from the start. And again, I'm summing this up very simplistically. Obviously, there's a lot more to it than just one or two taglines or sentences. But yeah, if you need a place to start, I would highly recommend that. I'm sure there's other ways. I mean, basically, with my background in martial arts and fencing, I mean, those are good places to start as well. That's kind of where I started, right? And my background in theater and whatnot, and performance and acting and these other kinds of things, understanding drama and laying out storylines and characters for audiences to enjoy and resonate with. So that becomes an important thing. I'm kind of going off on a sideline here, but that is in a way part of the idea of where to start in the basics. You kind of need a little bit of everything. Will help you out quite a bit. Just becoming an instructor too, and what I mean by that too is not just simply understanding a bunch of moves and saying, okay, I'm pretty cool, I guess I'll go teach. Being an instructor is something that takes time, and I don't know how to explain this. It's really it's sort of a skill in and of itself. In other words, if you're a great mathematician, that doesn't make you a great math teacher. If you're a fantastic athlete, like say you can run the 100-meter in 5 seconds. Okay, that's impossible. But anyway, that doesn't mean that you'll be able to teach those skills to someone else. Being a good teacher, a good instructor, a good leader, a good director is really a skill set in and of itself. So I guess that's another obstacle that people will run into when they talk about this thing about, well, where do I start? And I just need to learn some basic moves and I want to start teaching. I think where the fallacy lies in all of that, or not so much at the word fallacy, but the kind of hidden trap. It's a trap! Is that you can learn a lot of moves. You can learn tons of moves. You can get really good at a lot of things, but it doesn't make you a good instructor. It doesn't mean that you're going to be able to convey that information in a powerful, meaningful, and visceral way to get other people inspired by what you do. And I'm not saying that it's prohibitive, like it's mutually exclusive. Like, in other words, a lot of times if people are good at all those things, that helps them become a good teacher. But it doesn't mean it's true. And of course, there's some argument to say that what if you're not good at anything at all? Can you be a good instructor? And my opinion is it's mostly no. But it's true that you don't necessarily have to be the best athlete of all time to teach people to be a good athlete in the subject of that choice. So in other words, if you can't do the most advanced, super crazy flippy tricks, doesn't mean you can't begin the process of teaching people about how to do a backflip, for example, all that. That said, I'm a firm believer in if you can't do the action or you never have done the action, whatever it is, whether it means if you've never done a 100-move fight scene live on stage, that wasn't just, slapping sabers together and that's it. It's difficult to teach that. And the same goes for things like the backflip. If you can't do a backflip or you never have done one ever in, when you were much younger or whatever, it's going to be difficult for you to teach it because you've never done it. So, keep that in mind. Like, you can't teach someone how to make a good video game if you've never made one. You might believe you can, but that's not the same thing as actually having the right skill sets to do that. So yeah, with coming back to this idea of where to start and Saber basics, yeah, I would start with the DVDs. In my case, I would start with learning a lot about fencing, martial arts in general. Watch as many action sequences as you can. See how many times you can look up videos where they break those action sequences down. Learn from stuff like Jackie Chan. He has a video called My Way. You'd have to look it up. It's like I want to say it's Golden Dragon Pictures, something like that. And just that sort of thing. I mean, there's a million things that you could start looking up for your education in how things go. In terms of really being a powerful instructor or someone who's going to lead a group somewhere. And that can be difficult, Not everybody has that kind of time, but you have to be disciplined, you have to be educated, you have to be consistent, and you have to want it. That's about all the time I have, so may the Force be with you, peace out, and have fun with your LED sabers.